Believe it or not, electric vehicles are worse than gas-powered cars. Let's talk about it. How's everybody doing? My name is Anthony Brian Logan, and today we got to talk about a study that says electric vehicles are worse for the environment than their gas-powered counterparts. Now, this, in my humble opinion, is not surprising at all, because there's more that goes into a vehicle than just the fuel they use. And even with whatever fuels them, there are certain things that the environment must give to produce the fuel. Electricity does not just come from nowhere. It doesn't just come from air in the sky. It must be produced some way. How do you think the lights in your house are powered? With pixie fairy dust? You guys know. I don't want to be condescending to you guys, but a lot of normies have no idea where electricity comes from. They have no clue. They think that green energy is the actual color of the energy that goes into their wall. They just don't understand. Once you zoom out past the whole gas station versus plugging it up in your house or plugging it up at a supercharger thing, and you look at where everything really comes from and the wear and tear and the particle emissions and the impact on the environment, electric vehicles are much worse for the environment than their gas-powered counterparts. Now, one thing, before we even get to the article, which I have right here, you see the headline, electric vehicles release more toxic emissions and are worse for the environment than gas-powered cars, according to a study. Before we even get into it, one of the elephants in the room is how much these vehicles weigh. Electric vehicles are very, very heavy. Let me just show you a couple of vehicles. Now, I'm going to start with an extreme example and then give you a more realistic one that'll give you a true sense of how much these cars weigh. Now, this is the Hummer EV. Now, this is the vehicle that can go side to side, do the crab walk or whatever. Now, we all know that Hummers are pretty big vehicles and they're pretty heavy. This vehicle right here weighs in at over 9,000 pounds. 9,000 pounds. That is extremely, extremely heavy. And when you have 9,000 pounds of a vehicle on the road, there's so many things that are going to be affected. First of all, if you have roads full of these very, very heavy passenger vehicles, the wear and tear on roads, highways, byways, little streets, driveways is going to be crazy. And the impact on the environment to be putting asphalt down, to be filling potholes more than normal is tremendous. And then look at the tires. Okay, how long are a set of tires going to last on these almost 10,000 pound vehicles? Not very long necessarily. Then you're going to have your brakes that's going to deteriorate, all the brake dust, all the particle emissions from the tires. Do you know how many pounds of rubber is left on the runway when you're talking about airplanes and their landing gear? It's extreme. And because of the weight and the speed of these planes. Think about that when you're talking about an electric vehicle that weighs almost 10,000 pounds. And you got a lot of these cars on the road every single day. The amount of particle emissions from the tires, from the brakes, from maybe even just your everything going on with these vehicles is going to have a bunch of toxic emissions. And let's not talk about the batteries in these cars, how heavy they are, and all the rare earth minerals that are mined, conflict mines in Africa, all over the place, produced by pseudo slave labor. That's not good on the environment. That's not good for people. Overall, this vehicle right here is very harmful to the environment when compared to a regular internal combustion engine vehicle. Now, I understand that's an extreme example. Let me just show you something else here, okay? Now, this is my car. Not my car specifically. Like, that picture is not my car, but I have the same vehicle. I have the same model. That's a Ford F-150 Tremor. This is a full-size pickup truck. This truck weighs about 5,200 pounds compared to the Hummer EV, which weighs 9,000 pounds. 5,000 to 9,000. This full-size pickup truck, which is pretty big, it's not a small car. This truck weighs half of the Hummer EV. This is an 8-cylinder beast. This is going to have a lower impact on the environment than the Hummer EV. Now, I understand the Hummer EV is very big. Let's talk about a smaller EV. This is the Tesla Plaid. This is a sedan, essentially, right? You can see these guys right here in this thumbnail and their comparison to the size of the vehicle. These are probably not giants. These are like regular sized guys next to the Tesla Model Plaid. That's a sedan. This Tesla Model Plaid also weighs 5,200 pounds. So this car right here, this kind of run-of-the-mill sedan looking vehicle, it's a nice car, don't get it twisted. These are nice vehicles. That weighs 5,200, the same as a full-size Ford F-150. So imagine having a roadway full of these kind of cars. The tires on it, we're dealing with kind of like low pro tires. These are going to be dead in 5,000 miles at best, 10,000 miles at best. How many tires you going to put on this heavy sedan throughout its lifetime? How about the brakes, the brake pads, having to stop all this weight in this compact form? You're going to have more particle emissions coming from the electric vehicles. And then to go back to the whole thing about where you're going to power it, you go to a supercharger, you know how much power is used? You're talking about 100 houses of power in a supercharger. The wattage that is used is out of this world. If all vehicles were electric, the grid could not maintain it. And how was your grid powered? You know, one thing that's kind of crazy is that I was born in West Virginia, and my great grandfather was a coal miner for 20 years. And I saw over the years how the state deteriorated when I would go visit because they would close the coal mines down. Oh, it's bad for the environment. We want to go green. We want to push electric cars, electric this, electric that. Now, the funny part is, ever since the demand, quote unquote demand, or I would say the interest, not necessarily demand, but the interest for EVs has gone up, so has the demand for coal, because coal powers a lot of these grids all over the country. You're going to have dirty coal, dirty this, dirty that, powering your electrical grid, turning on your lights, turning on this, turning on that, charging your vehicle in your house, supercharger. A lot of it is being powered by coal. We've gone back and done full circle, all because you want to be green. But as I close, I want to say this. If you have an electric vehicle and you like it, hey, if you like it, I love it. Go for it. But to sit there and act like these cars are environmentally friendly and they're better than internal combustion engine, gas-powered vehicles, you're kidding yourself. I don't care if you got a 10-cylinder, it doesn't matter. These electric cars, from the mining of the rare earth minerals to the wear and tear, these are heavy. Not only wear and tear on your battery, on your wheels and your tires and your brakes, but wear and tear on the roads you're driving on. Imagine 30% heavier vehicles. That applies to all vehicles. Let's say they got their wish, right? Let's just have an imaginary world. Let's say they got their wish and all cars were electric by 2032. 30% heavier vehicles across the board on the road. Think about the wear and tear on the roads. And we already got raggedy infrastructure in this country that'll make it a lot worse. And then the strain on the grid, which is going to call for more dirty, quote unquote, fossil fuels like coal to power it. It doesn't make any sense at all. But I think I'll leave that right there for now. And what say you? What's your take on this whole thing with electric vehicles actually being worse for the environment than internal combustion engine vehicles? Whatever your thoughts are, let me know in the comments below. You guys know where I'm at. I'm not surprised in the least bit. This is an obvious thing. Anybody could have predicted that this would be the case. Anybody, like, it's not necessary for the study to even be there. You know all of what goes into an EV and how heavy they are. I mean, come on. Just because they don't burn gasoline does not mean they're green. Whatever your thoughts are, please let me know in the comments below. And that's all I got to say for this video. If you like what you heard, please comment, rate, share, and subscribe. Peace.